Today is July 8, 2026. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, I trust that everyone had a wonderful and encouraging 4th of July as we celebrate our country's 250th birthday. I'm sure most of you have been following what's been going on in the state of Maine, the Senate race between Graham Plattner, the Democrat, and Susan Collins, the Republican. Now, I gotta say right off the bat, this race really has nothing to do with abortion, because unfortunately, Susan Collins is pro-choice. She's not really with us hardly at all. Now, there may be an occasional pro-life vote, and she did vote for a few pro-life Supreme Court justices. But in the main, Susan Collins is not with us on the abortion issue. But on the other hand, if the Republicans want to keep control of the Senate, there's a good chance that if she wins, they're going to keep the Senate. And this Plattner guy, he is just so over the top, scandal after scandal. You know, the tattoo, the Nazi tattoo, the problems with his text messages where they were sex-laced things, and now the latest possible rape of some sort. You know, he was just the wrong candidate, period. And it is kind of funny. Here the Democrats, they've only got about 5 or 6 days before they can find a replacement. So there's a good chance that by the time this little video is out on YouTube on Thursday, he may be out of the race. It's possible. But, I go back to 2023. Joe Biden should never have been the candidate, but he was going to run, had a terrible debate, pulls out of the race. The Democrats prop up his running mate, Kamala Harris, who was a terrible candidate herself, and she loses to Donald Trump. They just picked the wrong people. They just picked the wrong candidates. And Graham Plattner is a train wreck. And which is kind of funny to see how the Democrats, who they all supported him, now all of a sudden they're all jumping ship. They're all bailing out on this guy, except maybe from Bernie Sanders. So we'll see how that plays out. But Graham Plattner is in a heap of trouble if he ever wants to become a senator in Maine. Moving on, I saw an article today. China's birth rate has fallen to 1.2, which is really low. That's way below replacement level. It's the lowest birth rate in 75 years. And what gets me is that for 40 years, China had this one-child policy where if you are pregnant with a second child, the government's going to step in and force you to have an abortion. Or if you've had one child, they're going to force you to become sterilized or to have an IUD implanted. They made sure that you could not have a second child. Well, now, 45 years later, Chinese demographers and social scientists have realized, oh man, this was a big mistake, because their population is aging because they don't have enough young people being born to replace the older ones. So let me read here. Despite policy shifts allowing for more children once they abolished the one-child policy, China's total fertility rate stands at just 1.2 births per woman, barely half the level needed to replace the population. That the resulting population decline threatens China's future. Chinese expert worries that this trend threatens the nation's future. Quote, and this is so ironic. Quote, we need more people to innovate, he said. This is why population and having children is important. If we have a declining population, not only will our ability to innovate diminish, but we will lose our capacity to stay in control of innovation itself, unquote. Well, ding, it's not that difficult to understand that the one-child policy has caused so much harm and havoc and damage to Chinese population and their future. And they did it to themselves. They did it to themselves. Okay, moving on. Planned Parenthood's political arm is launching a $2 million campaign to target Republican lawmakers in competitive districts who support restricting federal funding for the abortion company. Now, we'll think back to about a year ago, Trump's big, beautiful bill pulled money away from Planned Parenthood. They lost hundreds of millions of dollars in Medicaid funding, but it had a sunset to it, and it was going to end on July 4th of 2026, unless Republicans could enact a new bill to extend those restrictions. Well, they couldn't do it. Now let's go back to Planned Parenthood with these targeting these districts. The effort will focus on swing districts in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New York, and Pennsylvania. And among the names listed for being targeted by Planned Parenthood is our own 4th District Congressman Bill Huizenga. I think he's from the Holland area. And Tom Barrett, who's from the Lansing area. Both good, strong, pro-life lawmakers, and they are being targeted. And Tom Barrett, he replaced Elissa Slotkin, who was elected to the Senate back in 24. So he's new, and he's in kind of a swing district, so he needs our support. And as so does Huizenga. But Planned Parenthood needs to be defunded, period. They just do. They just do. So let me talk about that now with the big, beautiful bill. The funding ended on July 4th. Republican Missouri pro-life Missouri Senator Josh Hawley attempted to extend Planned Parenthood funding cuts with an amendment to the budget resolution in April, but the Senate narrowly voted it down. 2 Republican senators, Susan Collins from Maine and Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, voted in opposition to the amendment. So, no, the Republican Party is not a monolithic party when it comes to abortion. There are some pro-abortion people, unlike the Democrats, where every Democratic senator is pro-abortion, every single one. In that sense, the Republicans have a bigger tent. Okay, let me continue here. And here's my last point, or actually, it's the second of my last point. This is an election year. We're coming up to an election, the primary, but then the general in November. And I wrote an article in the June issue of the Right to Life, Kalamazoo Right to Life newsletter about the fact that pro-life voters stay home during the midterms. They just do. And I gave some statistics showing how we had races in 2014, 2018, 22, where those are the off-year races, where people stayed home, and we lost key races, especially in the governor's race. And in the Senate, we lost races because pro-life voters did not vote. Well, this headline says the problem is 30% of pro-lifers don't vote. This has got to stop. We have within ourselves the ability to win at the state level and at the national level. But we have to vote. We have to, whether it's an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot, or just getting into your car and driving to your local polling station, we've got to be engaged and vote. If we want to win, if we want to elect pro-lifers in Lansing and in Washington, we have to vote. This is not rocket science. We have to just get off our duffs and vote pro-life. Okay, last item. Whatever happened to the slang term, my body, my choice? Whatever happened to that term? Man, that was the clarion call a few years back. Well, not anymore, at least not in California. In California, the legislature is trying to pass a bill that will prohibit pregnancy care centers from informing women about the abortion pill reversal technique or protocol. And if you hear that little ringing bell, we're house sitting our son and daughter-in-law's little dog. So if you hear a little noise, that might be this dog with her little bell. So forgive me if that was a distraction. So California is trying to pass a bill prevent pregnancy care centers from providing information about the abortion pill reversal method, or to prohibit this life-affirming technique altogether. So a clinic couldn't even, let alone provide information, they couldn't even provide the method. So what is an abortion pill reversal? A woman is going to have a chemical abortion. She needs to take 2 pills, like within 3 or 4 days apart. So for the first pill, mifepristone, she takes it. But if she changes her mind, if she thinks, man, I don't want to kill my baby, she has an opportunity. If she can get to a doctor or a pregnancy care center with a doctor within 72 hours of taking that mifepristone, the doctor can give her a large dose or large doses of progesterone. And in 65 to 68% of times, that dose of progesterone is able to restore her normal pregnancy. That's the key. It will restore her pregnancy. And then the baby can be carried to term and she can have a normal, healthy, living baby. But somehow in California, the legislators don't want women to have a choice. They want to say that once you've taken mifepristone, you are stuck. Even if you feel bad that you did it, you can't change. You can't change that. Well, what about her choice? What about the woman's right to choose if she wants to take progesterone? Shouldn't that be her choice? Shouldn't that be her choice? But in California, pregnancy care centers are in the chopping block, and they want to make sure that these life-affirming centers cannot give women the abortion pill reversal protocol or method to save her baby. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm hoping that cooler heads will prevail in California, but we are living in strange and dark times. But with God's help, we will still persevere and advance the pro-life cause. With that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time.